Okay, everybody, we are back. Welcome back, everyone. Welcome to everyone that is joining the show from the previous stream. What in the world? Oh my goodness, I just got the weirdest thing on. Oh, how weird. They just made my other video private. What in the world? Okay, I'll have to fix that later. What in the world is this? Okay, I'll have to fix that later. Wow. Okay, so if you just came off of the other stream, you may not be able to see it because YouTube just sent me an email saying that our team has reviewed your content and we think you may need to make changes to make sure it doesn't violate our spam, deceptive practices, and scams policy. Like, what? What in the world was scammy about that? Like, are you kidding me? We talked about a chef that had a really weird meltdown. Oh, how weird is this? Hold on. I'm just looking to try to figure out what this is. Oh, this is very strange. Okay, I'll have to investigate that later. So if you just got through watching the other one, I'll have to figure out what happened or why that happened because I wasn't selling you guys anything. I didn't sell you anything. I wasn't promoting anything. How weird. It has to be a glitch. And it says I need to make changes, but it didn't say what changes I need to make. Sorry, I didn't mean to go live with that. I just wasn't expecting this. I wonder if it's the link tree. I told y'all they don't like us. They do not like us sending y'all off the site, but we've been able to do link trees. So let me just take that out. How strange. Like, this is just bizarre. But whatever. And they won't let me unlock it. Okay, I'll have to fix that later. So, Daniel, thank you so much. That makes me feel better. Starting this show off. Says, what? Yeah, I know. How strange. What was scammy about that? YouTube is going to have to explain that one, but I'll deal with that later. Like, let me look at the title. It says Narcs in High Places. All it was chefs and dispatchers, and I changed it to chefs. How weird. I don't know. I have no idea, but I'll have to figure it out. So we're going to continue with our show. This was originally supposed to be part of the same show, but I decided to split it up because this topic will definitely get demonetized for sure. And then they blocked the whole video because they said spam, deceptive practices, and scams. Like, what are you talking about? It says, I've seen that happen to other live streams. How weird. So I'll have to see how I can actually fix that. But they didn't give me a strike. I don't know. YouTube is such a strange place. This is why a lot of your creators aren't really creating very much anymore because we are just tired, y'all. We're tired of trying to figure it out. We're tired of all the rule changes. We're tired of every other day getting in trouble like you're in kindergarten. We're tired of not being able to speak. We're tired of not being able to express our true opinions about things. We're just tired. We're tired of the lack of safety in the community. We're tired of the hypocrisy. We're really tired of it all. It becomes very unrewarding after a while, which is why I've always said YouTube is lucky that this is something I actually enjoy doing. I actually enjoy doing this versus having to depend on this for a living. Because if I had to depend on YouTube for a living, honey, I don't know. I don't know where my mental health would be. I really don't. I don't know where my mental health would be if I had to depend on this for a living. Luckily, it's truly a hobby, which is something we just got through talking about on the video that they like hid weirdly. So, anyway, honey, Worst case scenario, if I can't figure it out, I'll put it on the podcast. I do have a podcast on Spotify that goes by the same name, Permission to Exist. I don't promote it very often because I'm behind. I'm behind quite a few episodes on uploading to the podcast. But if you weren't aware, I do have a podcast for Permission to Exist. So if I can't figure it out, I'll put it there, and I'll probably just put it over on Odyssey as well, because I do still have a copy of the stream, but still, I didn't get to read y'all's comments all the way. And y'all know that's the thing that pisses me off the most. But I think I'll get it back. I have to figure out what they're talking about. I wasn't trying to sell y'all anything. There's absolutely nothing in that link tree that hasn't been in the description box before. So I wonder if they don't like link trees. But anyway, whatever. Here we are. Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back. So this is part 2 of Narcs in High Places. Continuing on, today is May. Actually, it's the 20th now for me. But when this started, it was May 19th, 2022. And let us continue on. Maybe it was something in the live chat that I missed. I didn't see anything though. So, and thank you again, Daniel, for the super chat. I appreciate it so much. Hopefully I'll get it if this stream doesn't get knocked for weird and unusual and strange reasons. Oh, I can appeal it. Perfect. I'll appeal it when I'm done with this. So anyway, Narcs in High Places. The purpose of this particular show and the other one was to illustrate that some people are some narcissists are in high places. And I consider high places not only those of like business owners and CEOs and things like that, but also anyone that has influence or impact over the outcome of your life, basically. To me, I consider that a high place. So we just got through talking about a narcissistic chef, and we're getting ready to talk about a narcissistic 911 dispatcher. Now, before I start, I want to say that it almost seems like one of the pre-qualifications for being a dispatcher is being rude as hell. And where I get that opinion from is I watch like a lot of true crime shows and things like that. And I cannot tell you how many different 911 calls I've listened to where like the dispatcher, if the dispatcher would calm down, they would have heard what the person said. Or if the dispatcher would be a little less rude, they would have been able to assist the person better. So like there've been so many calls where the person clearly says like, help me, my brother is hurt, my brother is hurt. And they'll say, who is hurt? My brother. Okay, ma'am, you need to calm down. I'm sorry, but he's hurt. He's not breathing. Is he breathing? No, he's not breathing. Well, how do you know? It's like, what? And the person will be like, I can see that he's not breathing. And they'll be like, well, ma'am, I need you to get him on his back. It's like, I don't want to touch a dead body. Don't worry, I'll get it back up. It looks like I can appeal it, but they're going to have to explain to me what was scammy. Like, what was scammy about that? What was scammy? I wasn't trying to sell y'all anything. All I did was, I opened, well, maybe I shouldn't repeat it, but I opened up the show thanking those who give the channel support. And also thank you for the Cash App from Always Unavailable. Appreciate you so much. Thank you so much. Let me go accept those really quick. But that's literally all I did. I said thank you to the people who show the channel support through 2 different platforms. And I guess that pissed them off. I told y'all they don't like us sending y'all other places, but how could we not when when y'all just harass our very soul? YouTube, how do you harass the people who bring you all your money? We bring in all the money. We bring people to the platform and they harass the hell out of us. That's why I said the other day, I hope Elon buys YouTube. I know everyone's mad at Elon. I know y'all are upset with him for different reasons, but secretly, I hope he buys YouTube and fires Susan, because she has literally destroyed the whole thing. She's made it so not worth it. I know y'all have seen some of your biggest creators just stop creating. They might post a video once every 4 months because there's really no incentive. There's one I can think of right now called JCS Criminal Psychology. Are y'all aware of them? Some of you might be. But really, they like Like every single one of their videos has over 1 million views. They have over 1 million subs. But what happened with them is because of the nature of the content that they cover, they kept getting strikes on their channel. And basically, if they got one more strike, the whole channel would be taken down. So that's how cold YouTube is, and that's how ruthless YouTube is. They don't care how many subs you have, how good your videos do. They just apply the same heavy hand to everybody. So they basically made a post that said, "Hey guys, it's been fun, but if we get one more strike, the whole channel disappears. So we're just going to stop." And that's what they did. And they removed the majority of their content or made it private or whatever. There's only like 4 or 5 videos up and that's it. And it's like, wow, the death of like a legacy. Like that was a pretty good channel. And they had to stop creating because YouTube struck their channel so many times because of the nature of the content. Like we're not children. We are not kids. You have a YouTube kid, send them over there. Send them to YouTube Kids. We are adults. You don't have to you protect us from everything else but the real threat. Isn't that interesting? The New York City subway shooter was a huge YouTube fan. He had his own YouTube channel, actually. And he followed a lot of other toxic creators, one of whom is dead now. But he followed a lot of other toxic creators who YouTube will sit and allow these people to spew their hatred day in and day out. And that's fine. You don't feel the need to protect us from that. But if we want to watch some criminal psychology, oh, that's just too much for us. That's just, we're just, that's just too much. We don't want you to see that kind of stuff, but we'll let this other stuff ride. Some of the ads they let play, I'm shocked. I'm like, wow, so this ad can play and that's fine. But if anyone says anything like this on their video gets hit or demonetized or whatever. It's just not fun, you guys. So if you're thinking about being a YouTube creator, do it because you have some sort of passion for whatever it is you're talking about and not because you're looking for any fulfillment in terms of money or in terms of like being properly rewarded through the algorithm. Don't look for fulfillment there because you won't find it, honey. You have to do it because you really care about whatever it is you're talking about. Okay. Anyway, back on track. Back on track. Welcome back to everyone who's coming over from the other video. I do have confidence that I'll be able to get it back up. And if not, I'll just put it on my podcast and I'll also put it on Odyssey. Okay. So continuing on, Narcs in high places, 911 dispatchers. So the calls that I've heard before are some of the rudest people on the planet. And I just don't understand it. When you know that people are typically calling because they're in the middle of some sort of crisis and you expect them to stay calm, right? Or they have all kinds of other expectations. And one of those, yeah, they censor comments too. They censor lots of comments. One of those expectations, I guess, is of a perfect performance when you are in the middle of a panicked crisis situation, which is why I feel like they qualify for narcs in high places because only a narcissist would expect you to be calm when you just walked up on a dead body. Okay. And thank you, Moon Bunny. Thank you for the support. I appreciate it so much, especially considering this one will probably be demonetized. So thank you so much for the support of the channel. I appreciate you greatly. I really do. So let's take a look at what happened, you guys. So I know you guys are aware that there was an incident in Buffalo, New York recently, and I'm only going to refer to it as an incident and nothing more, just because, we're on the kindergarten playground and God forbid the babies hear, anything other than ABC and 1, 2, 3. Okay. So we're all aware of that incident. I'm very aware of the incident and I think it's tragic. And this one, well, I can't say that either. Damn, we can't say anything. I have to say it on another channel or on Odyssey or something. But I'm aware of the incident. I do have thoughts and all of that, and I'll share them at another time. So we're just going to refer to it as the incident. But out of this came information that one of the dispatchers that received one of the 911 calls got mad at the caller and actually hung up on her. So let's read about it and let's talk about this narcissism in a high place. This was published yesterday, May 19th, 2022. Says she got mad. 911 dispatcher allegedly hung up during a Buffalo shooting call. A 911 dispatcher has been placed on administrative leave and will probably be fired after allegedly hanging up on a Tops supermarket employee during Saturday's shooting rampage in Buffalo, New York, where a white supremacist allegedly killed 10 people. Letitia Rogers, an assistant office manager at the Top supermarket, said she called 911 and whispered quietly into the phone about the shooter who was already in the store. I called 911. I go through the whole operator and everything. The dispatcher comes on and I'm whispering to her and I said, "Miss, please send help to 1275 Jefferson. There is a shooter in the store." She proceeded in a very nasty tone and says, "I can't hear you. Why are you whispering? You don't have to whisper. They can't hear you." So I continued to whisper and I said, "Ma'am, he's still in the store. He's still shooting. I'm scared for my life. Please send help." Out of nervousness, my phone fell out of my hand. She said something I couldn't make out, and then the phone hung up, Rogers said. In a separate interview with Buffalo News, Rogers said she got mad at me and hung up in my face. Rogers said she proceeded to call her boyfriend, whom she instructed to call 911. "I felt that lady left me to die yesterday," she added. On Wednesday, Erie County Executive Mark Pollenkars said that the dispatcher had been placed on administrative leave and may have her employment terminated at the end of the month. The individual was put on administrative leave pending a hearing, which will be held on May 30th, in which our intention is to terminate the 911 call taker who acted totally inappropriately, not following protocol. He did not publicly identify the dispatcher, who has been on the job for 8 years. Further investigation into the shooting has revealed that Peyton Gendron, the 18-year-old suspect, had been plotting the massacre in a series of online statements over the past 5 months. So then they just kind of go into what he did and a little bit about all of that. Okay. So I was pretty stunned by this story. And I'm not shocked by it though, because again, I have heard firsthand through the recorded calls that they put online so many stories about, or not heard so many stories. I've heard stories, but also heard the actual call of these 911 dispatchers being incredibly rude and like having the craziest expectations of people and asking them questions over and over and over again. And sometimes questions that they've actually already answered, like telling you who it is, telling you where they are, or like the worst one that I thought of, and I pulled this story up. Some of you may be familiar with this story, but there was a 911 dispatcher who received a call from a lady who had taken a turn down a street she wasn't familiar with. And the weather in the area was bad that day. And I guess this area is prone to flash flooding. And this woman actually got rude on the call with this woman, told her, among other things, to shut up, and then had the nerve to chastise her and be like, "Well, this will teach you not to drive down flooded roads." And the woman died, you guys. She actually died. And it was the dispatcher's last day on the job, and they chose not to press charges on this psychopath. So this actually happened in 2019. This was published December 23rd, 2019. Yeah, the chat says psych profile of 911 operators. Like you really have to wonder, number one, how so many of them end up in dispatcher jobs. Like that seems to be one of the jobs where you would need the highest amount of compassion and patience and listening skills imaginable. But it seems like they only hire rude people. Like you have to be rude to get the job. It's very, very strange. And it makes me think that a lot of them might be narcissists or psychopaths or both, because I think they just like the fact that they are what's standing in between you and like help, or you and safety. So this story does not have a happy ending. It says the Arkansas 911 dispatcher who scolded a woman crying on the phone before she drowned will not face criminal charges, an internal investigation ruled. A Fort Smith police investigation into Deborah Stevens' death found that while the 911 dispatcher violated policy by being rude to Stevens at times, she hadn't violated the law in her response. CNN is not naming the dispatcher because she had not been charged and they were unable to reach her. The dispatcher, police said, performed her duties as required and was not negligent in her response. She absolutely was, but whatever. Stevens, a 47-year-old newspaper delivery woman, on her morning paper route, called 911 in August after a flash flood forced her SUV off the road. She spent 22 minutes on the phone with the 911 operator before she drowned in her car. Her death was ruled an accidental drowning. The dispatcher submitted her resignation notice 2 weeks prior to the incident. Stevens' death occurred during what was to be the operator's final shift, police said in the report. The operator might have faced disciplinary action had she still been an employee, but she would not have been fired, the police concluded. The 911 center was overwhelmed with calls during the flood, police said. Stevens' call was the 15th call that day, and another 19 calls about vehicles caught in floodwaters would follow. The situation was chaotic at best, the report said. In a recording of the call, the dispatcher scolded Stevens for freaking out as floodwaters filled her SUV. Stevens repeatedly told the operator she feared she was going to die. "You're not going to die," the dispatcher told Stevens. "I don't know why you're freaking out. It's okay. I know the water level is high." "I'm scared," Stevens replied, crying. "I understand that, but you freaking out is doing nothing but losing your oxygen up in there. So just calm down." Later, Stevens told the dispatcher she was worried the floodwaters would ruin her brand new phone, preventing responders from finding her. "Do you really care about your brand new phone?" the dispatcher said. "I mean, you're over there crying for your life. Who cares about your phone?" Like, wow. Like, I don't see how this woman wasn't brought up on callous indifference charges. Callous indifference. Stevens grew frantic and said she needed to vomit. "Well, you're in water. You can throw up," the dispatcher told her. "It's not going to matter if you got throw up on yourself. They'll still help you." The dispatcher also told Stevens to shut up and scolded her for driving into water shortly before the call cut out. Stevens' body was found almost an hour later. The department released the recording of Stevens' call shortly after her death, which it admitted sounded callous and uncaring at times on the dispatcher's part. The dispatcher received unaliving threats to her cell phone, forcing her to change her number. After the release, 911 operators at the center were inundated with callers who harassed or threatened them, the report said. The calls became so frequent and numerous that they interfered with the center's ability to handle calls from people who sought emergency aid. But the department insisted the 911 operator made a sincere effort to locate Stevens and send first responders to her location. The operator received criticism that she didn't advise Stevens, who said during the call that she couldn't swim, on how to navigate the flash flood because that was against policy. As a result, Fort Smith Police Chief Danny Baker recommended that 911 operators should be allowed to give advice or instructions to callers if they're trained in that type of incident. The department will also hire additional 911 supervisors to lighten the understaffed center's workload. So you see, first of all, they tried to make excuses. And if you're interested, I don't know the title of the video, but I think there's at least one or two different videos on YouTube regarding this case. You would just have to look up like Deborah Stevens 911 call, and I'm sure you'll find something, but I will warn you, it is like it's so triggering to listen to. It's incredibly triggering because number one, you know that this woman didn't make it. She literally drowned in her car. And number two, the way this operator handled her, it's like just because you're not scared doesn't mean she's not scared. Just because you're safe in some call center with a dirty desk and crumbs everywhere and an overflowing trash can next to you doesn't mean that she's safe. Like that's your whole job. Like, and I think this is the woman who asked her to pray with her too, if I'm not mistaken. This woman said, "Will you pray with me, please?" or something like that. And it's just like so sad. And I remember she was so aggravated because she kept trying to ask the woman where she was. And the woman kept telling her, "I don't know. I'm over here by the two apartment buildings at the end of like Franklin Street or something like that." And she's like, "Well, what's the address?" She's like, "Ma'am, I don't know. Like my car is floating down the street. I don't know." And she's like, "Well, what do you see?" "I just told you." Well, she didn't say I just told you. I said that. But she said, "I see two apartment buildings and they're the apartment buildings that are at the end of Franklin Street. That's all I know." So it's like they're so distracted or like so something that it's almost like they're not processing what they're being told. It's very, very strange. And I've said this before and I'll say it again. I know a lot of people theorize that we are being watched and surveilled at all times. I just don't think that's true because if it were true, there would be no missing persons. There'd be no missing people. People wouldn't be able to go on the run or on the lam for very long. And you'd be able to pinpoint someone's location based on their phone call. Like, you see that they didn't find this woman for an hour until after that call ended. So if we were being watched like that, they would be able to find her like immediately. But that's a different show, different topic, different discussion, different everything. But it's just another one of those examples. Like, if we were being watched like that, they would have been able to find her instantly. And they couldn't. But this woman was just so cold. And at some point during the call, she said, "Well, that'll teach you to drive around during floods, or that'll teach you to drive around during really bad weather," or something like that. So it's just it strikes me as odd. It makes me want to do a separate show altogether on this topic. Like, why are 911 dispatchers so very rude? Like almost like being I feel like when they hang up the phone, like they sit around and share stories with each other like, "Yeah, this woman was calling me telling me she couldn't breathe and I was like, 'Ma'am, just take a deep breath.'" Or like someone calling them like, "Hi, I'm 9 months pregnant. I think I'm going into labor and it really hurts." And the dispatcher probably saying something like, "Well, pregnancy and childbirth hurt, ma'am." You know what I mean? Like, it says many of them feel emboldened to act that way with the system in place to protect them. That's what I feel like it is. Because you see how they protected this dispatcher. She didn't get brought up on any charges. They say that she acted according to protocol. And if she's acting according to protocol, then that means that y'all condone that type of behavior. Now I see why nobody trusts you because you condone that type of behavior, that rudeness, that arrogance, that, "Oh, you're panicking, well, calm down." Like, how can people calm down when something major has just happened to them? Then they turn around, and if somebody calls and is like, "Hi, yes, I just got home and my wife is dead." They're like, "Your wife is dead, sir?" "Yes." "How do you know, sir?" "Well, she's on the kitchen floor and she's not moving." "Okay, is she breathing?" That's one of my favorite questions. "Is she breathing?" "Is she breathing?" Ma'am, I don't know." "Can you go check?" "I just checked. She's not." So they'll take that call, right? And then later they'll comment on it and they'll be like, "He was so calm during his 911 call." Like whenever you're too calm during the 911 call, that like makes you a suspect. So it's like, so I'm a suspect if I'm not panicked enough. But if I panic too much, you tell me to calm down. Or, as is the case with the first story that I shared with you, if I'm whispering because I'm in an unsafe situation, you catch an attitude with me, ask me why I'm whispering, and then you hang up on me. Like, what's wrong with these people, you guys? Hold on, I just saw a comment I wanted to read. It said, a 911 operator off duty told me or yelled at me to drive off a cliff. He was a very sick individual. He should not have been in that position of power for sure. It is a power position, isn't it? Like, and it's the question is like, why? Like, why would you want that job just so you can screw with people? Just so you can catch an attitude with them, just so you can minimize their panic or minimize whatever pain that they're in to what feel better about yourself. Because I already know what that office looks like. I know it's filthy. I know it is. I already know it's all over the desk. I already know. I know what's going in. I have a mind's eye view of it. I know exactly what's going on in these little call centers. And I have a feeling that after they hang up with people, they probably roll their eyes. And my whole thing is like, if that's how you feel, why would you take that kind of job? Or are you a narc in high places? That's what I think you might be. Because you want to be in the action, but you also want to be like the one who decides whether or not it happens. Like, and I didn't want to say this, but I feel like I need to. I feel like they intentionally hire people who, now I'm not going to say that because that's insulting to the people who do take their job seriously. So I won't say that. I'll actually be nice today. Look at me exhibiting a little bit of self-control. But I will say this, it appears that you hire a lot of people who have power problems and who are on some sort of very, very weird power trip, and they're also not listening. You could literally call. I've heard calls where they say, "Hi, I'm at 123 ABC Street, under the big oak tree, and I need help." And they'll be like, "Where are you? What was the address again? And what happened?" And like they'll literally lay it out and say word for word what happened. And then it's almost like they didn't hear them at all, wasting precious time. Yeah, it's evil to hang up on them. The chat says 911 dispatchers hanging up on people during an emergency. That's evil. Yeah, it is. Like how incredibly weird. And then the weirdest part of all this is the part where she says that she was whispering because the guy was still in the store. It says she proceeded in a very nasty tone and says, "I can't hear you. Why are you whispering? You don't have to whisper. They can't hear you." Girl, how do you know? How do you know he can't hear me? How ridiculous and psychotic and foolish. Someone just called you and told you there's a person unaliving people in the grocery store, and I'm in the office and I'm hiding, but you're kind of whispering because you don't want them to hear you. And you say, "I can't hear you. Why are you whispering?" Like, how rude and nasty could you be? The chat says you can weaponize incompetence. It's called passive aggressiveness. Yeah. Chat says they are undereducated and undertrained. Like, wow. Like, it makes me wonder what else. I feel like that should be part of any police investigation as well. Not just the call, but they need cameras in there. What else was the operator doing while this call was going on? Were they texting on their phone? Were they talking to a coworker? Were they eating? Were they doing like a million other things? It's almost like, can you imagine these people being air traffic controllers? Can you imagine that? Take some of these 911 operators and put them in the position of being an air traffic controller. And some pilot is radioing down saying, "Hey, we just lost an engine. We need to come in for an emergency landing." Um, you lost an engine? Yes, we lost the right engine. You lost the left engine? The right engine, ma'am. The right engine. How do you know you lost the engine? Ma'am, all the signals are telling me it's out, and I can also hear that it's not on. What does an engine sound like? It sounds like a giant roar, ma'am. So is it roaring right now? No, fool. It's not roaring right now. It's stopped. The engine's out. It's gone. I need to do an emergency landing. Am I clear? Where are you? I'm over Dallas, Fort Worth, ma'am. What's your name? Captain PTE, ma'am. Oh. So do you think it's an emergency? Like, that's how they would act. Do you think it's like an emergency or anything? How many people are on the plane with you? Like that's how it would be. Thank God the air traffic controllers are a little bit more professional than this. But it's almost like I feel like you could call 911 and speak just as clearly and calmly, and you're still going to get a million questions that you already answered. But the fact that this woman said, you don't have to whisper, they can't hear you. Why are you whispering, girl? Because there's someone in the store unaliving people, girl. And I don't want them to hear me. She talking about they can't hear you. This is not texting. And by the way, why doesn't text 911 exist yet? I know it does exist in some pockets here and there, but why is texting 911 not like standard? Like standard. It's a sincere question because I feel like so many lives could be saved if someone could send a sneaky little text message to 911 and the person doesn't know that you did it versus a phone call. A phone call is an audible experience. Something is going to be heard by someone. But if you can text, like I remember this one call, y'all, on some show, this girl had actually been taken against her will and she was being held in this little trap house, I guess. I don't know. And the guy was there, but he was asleep. So she was whispering. This woman didn't get onto her for whispering, but the dispatcher was loud AF. She was so freaking loud. The girl was like, "Hi, I'm not safe. I've been taken. This is my name." She was like, "What's your name?" "My name is Kristen Smith. I've been taken against my will. I got taken like a week ago." "Somebody took you?" "Yes, ma'am, and he's still here. He's sleeping." "He's asleep." "He's asleep?" "Yes, he's asleep in the other room." "Well, where are you?" "I don't know." The girl was like, "I don't know. All I know is what the house across the street from me looks like." "Well, what does it look like?" And then she was like, "Oh God, I think I woke him up." And the woman was like, "Hello? Hello? You think you woke him up?" Like, dodo bird. "Shut up, girl." Like, shut up. Like, shut up. Can't you hear me whispering? "What does he look like?" "He's got brown hair. He's about 6 feet tall." "He's 6 feet?" Girl, I'm gonna hang up on you and call back so I can get somebody who knows how to like be quiet, like lower their voice and say, "Okay, well, I'm gonna speak quietly so I don't make too much noise, okay?" Nope, she's just as loud as can be, like super loud. I wish I knew exactly which one it was, y'all, so I could share it with you so you could see. And apparently people criticized her for that as well. Like, why was the 911 dispatcher being so loud? This girl just called you and told you. I think she told her, "I'm the missing girl that y'all have been looking for. I got taken like a week ago. I'm being held in this house and he's here right now, but he's asleep." Luckily, that story had a happy ending. The police were able to find her, get her to safety, and arrest the perp. So that story did have a happy ending. No thanks to the 911 dispatcher. Girl, you're going to wake up the whole neighborhood. Shut up. They do have 911 text in some areas, but not all. Some areas, but not all. And I just don't understand why it's not standard. Like, how could that not be like standard, you know? So, but anyway, I thought this was a very interesting case of narcs in high places during the most recent incident in Buffalo. A lady called trying to get help, and because she was whispering, the operator caught an attitude with her and asked her why she was whispering, and then proceeded to hang up on her in the middle of a literal crisis situation. So, oh, you think you remember that episode? Yeah, he was a nut. So luckily that girl escaped, but my God, like, you know how loud phones can be. You know how you can hear someone talking on a phone, even from several feet away sometimes. She was just loud as could be. Just not very bright is what I'll say. That's the nicest way I can say it. Yeah, it should be standard with all that's going on lately. Absolutely. Like a simple text to 911 could save so many lives because, I mean, think about how many times people are distracted or watching TV. And if you're being held somewhere against your will, you obviously can't place a phone call, but you can text, you can send pictures. Like, can you imagine if people could send pictures? So, exactly. The chat says, say one if you're whispering because you're in danger. Exactly. And the girl could have just been like, one. Like there's so many different, but she was asking for names, descriptions. Where are you? What did you say happened? He took you. Really? Oh my God. Like, girl, shut up. Like, it makes me wonder, like, what kind of training they go through, who's teaching them to be this way, and why is it so universal across the board when it comes to these dispatchers? And I'm sure there's some great dispatchers who really take their job seriously and who do a great job, but I've just seen way too many examples of rude ones. And I'm like, why is rude like part of the job description? If someone calls you freaking out, tell them to calm down. Girl, don't you think they would calm down if they could? Don't you think they could be calm? Like, how calm could you be if you come home and discover your roommate has been unalived? It's like, "Hey, how's it going?" "Yep, I got home and my roommate was unalived, and it looks like it was pretty bad. Y'all might wanna get someone out here." They're like, "Wow, ma'am, you sound really happy." It's like, "Oh, I just didn't wanna panic," because when people call you panicking, y'all tell them to calm down. So, I calmed down first, and then I gave you guys a call. "Well, is he breathing?" "No, it doesn't look like it." "Well, can you check?" That one kills me. Like when they have come across someone who is obviously not with us anymore, and they tell them to check them to see if they're breathing. And one lady, I heard him say, "Roll him on his back and start giving him CPR." And the girl was like, "I don't want to," because it's like scary. It's like kind of freaky. You know what I mean? And she was like, "Ma'am, he's cold." And she was like, "I understand that, but you need to get him on his back." I would say, "Ma'am, I'm not touching a crime scene, okay? Get your officers over here. He's a goner. He's out of here. You need to get your officers over here." Like, you just want me to administer CPR. We don't even know why he's not here anymore. What if he has that thing that's been going around? What if he has that? You want me to give him CPR and catch that thing? It says, "Yep, no empathy. They can simply say, 'I understand that you're afraid or panicked, but please try to communicate as clearly as you can so I can help.'" Exactly. Like, there's a nicer way to get that across. And also, a lot of times they cut them off mid-sentence. And I'm like, you need to let them finish their sentence because they're probably trying to tell you what you need to know. Or they might be getting ready to give you a very valuable detail that will come in handy later in the investigation. But you are so Mr. or Mrs. I got to control the situation that you won't even let them finish their sentence. You're too busy worrying about them calming down. They can't be calm in this situation. You be calm. You are the still water. You be calm and walk them through it. But it's like they're aggravated. It's almost like they're irritated that they get phone calls. It's like, but if you didn't get these phone calls, you wouldn't have a job. Or when people call in and they're like, "Yes, ma'am, we've already gotten several calls on that." It's like, okay, sorry. I just wanted to make sure. Just because imagine this. Something happens, then everyone assumes that someone else has already called 911. Kind of like when everyone assumes someone is watching the baby, nobody's watching the baby. So if everyone stands around and assumes someone has called, no one calls. So then they end up getting multiple calls for the same thing and they get aggravated as opposed to just understanding human nature. People are going to assume, well, just in case nobody has called, let me call. You call, "Yes, ma'am, we've already gotten multiple phone calls on the situation." Okay, okay, damn. Okay. Attitude. I was just trying to make sure. I agree 100%. It says jobs like these require a NARC test or empathy test to avoid hiring these people. But that won't happen because most of the people hiring are NARCs too. And that is the problem. And that is how we end up with so many NARCs in high places. It's like I can only imagine what these people think of themselves. Like they probably think they're like above the police, above the paramedics, above the firefighters. Like it's a real power trip, a power and control issue. In weird places too, like with food, like the whole chef episode that I'm going to try to work to get back up tonight. I'm going to appeal it as soon as I hang up with you guys because that just doesn't make any sense. But like from the restaurants to the dispatch centers, these people are creeping their way in, and these are the end results of having narcs in high places. So, with that, you guys, I am going to go ahead and close out. This concludes part 2 of our earlier stream. I'm going to go see if I can figure out what happened with that stream. And if I can't get it back up, it will live on either on the podcast. I might just go ahead and put it on the podcast tonight, just with no editing, just so you guys will have it. So I'll put it on the podcast. I think I'll just throw it up there tonight. And I'm going to try to appeal it and get it reinstated on YouTube because I really wanted to see all of your comments, which I often miss when I'm doing the show. So I thank you guys for attending both, and be on the lookout for that other episode. It should reappear because I wasn't trying to sell you anything. So I don't know what was scammy about the show. So we'll see if we can figure that out. And I hope to reappear again sometime soon on one of these channels, either PTE, A Deeper PTE, or Pettynomics, or Odyssey. That one is also an option too. So thank you all so much for being here. Have a great evening, and we'll talk again very, very soon, okay? Bye.